All right. Okay, welcome back to Reading Rewards the Reader. Today we are in Book of Job, chapter 10. We have been reading the Bible chronologically. This is not cover to cover. If you grabbed a Bible off the shelf and just read it cover to cover, we're not reading it that way. What we're reading it through chronologically. So, the early stories of Genesis, we read that in previous episodes, and now we're in the book of Job. A lot of scholars think that Job might be the first book written, or at least one of the very earliest. So that's why it's placed so early in this chronological reading. But it's been interesting so far. So just to recap where we are, Job was a guy described as righteous, and God has this day where angels come and hang out in front of him, and the adversary, also called Satan, comes and says, "Hey, God, have you noticed this guy Job?" And God's like, "Yeah, he's awesome. He's the best. I love him. He's very righteous and he loves me." And Satan's like, "Well, yeah, but if that's because you're really nice to him. But if you took away all of his stuff or killed his kids, he would curse you." God's like, "I don't think so, but I'll take that bet." And so he allows Satan, the adversary, to take away everything that Job has, his children, all of his belongings, his houses, like all the stuff, right? And Job does not complain. He doesn't curse God the way that Satan thought he would. So then Satan says, "Well, you've preserved him. If I were allowed to hurt him, then he would definitely curse you." And God said, "Okay, fine, go do your thing, but you can't kill him." And so Job is in despair, and his wife comes to him and says, "You need to curse God and die, basically. Like, this is awful. Just give up." And he's like, "I'm not going to do that." And then his three friends come and sit down with him. They sit for a while. He's in just mind blowing agony and sorrow. Sit with him, and then they start talking to him. And they start talking about, like, "Hey, why is this happening? What's going on here?" They kind of go back and forth. And so that's where we are now, Job chapter 10. So Job is going to continue talking. This one's entitled "A Plea to God," and there's going to be some back and forth between Job and then his third friend. So we've kind of gone through the first two friends. This is his third friend in this section. So today we'll read Job 10 through 13. I'll interject a few thoughts, but really the goal of our reading time, as I've always said on this channel, is just to read the Bible, try to understand what it's saying in its own context, its own message. I'm not going to try to overlay too much like theological ideas or anything like that. Just kind of take it as it comes, and try to understand, if it's applicable and to us, and if so, how. So let's jump in. Job chapter 10. I loathe my life. I will give free utterance to my complaint. I will speak in the bitterness of my soul. I will say to God, "Do not condemn me. Let me know why you contend against me. Does it seem good to you to oppress, to despise the work of your hands, and favor the designs of the wicked? Have you eyes of flesh? Do you see as man sees? Are your days as the days of man, or your years as man's years? That you seek out my iniquity and search for my sin, although you know that I am not guilty, and there is none to deliver out of your hand. Your hands fashioned and made me, and now you have destroyed me altogether. Remember that you have made me like clay, and will you return me to the dust? Did you not pour me out like milk and curdle me like cheese? You clothed me with skin and flesh and knit me together with bones and sinews. You have granted me life and steadfast love, and your care has preserved my spirit. Yet these things you hid in your heart. I know that this was your purpose. If I sin, you watch me, and do not acquit me of my iniquity. If I am guilty, woe to me. If I am in the right, I cannot lift up my head, for I am filled with disgrace, and look on my affliction. And were my head lifted up, you would hunt me like a lion and again work wonders against me. You renew your witness against me and increase your vexation toward me. You bring fresh troops against me. Why did you bring me out from the womb? Would that I had died before any eye had seen me, and were as though I had not been, carried from the womb to the grave. Are not my days few? Then cease, and leave me alone, that I may find a little cheer before I go, and I shall not return to the land of darkness and deep shadow, the land of gloom like thick darkness, like deep shadow without any order, where light is as thick as darkness. Fascinating chapter here. Just a couple quick thoughts on this one. he's now addressing God, and what he doesn't say, which is interesting, kind of missing here, is he doesn't say, God, stop, right? Please stop this. Don't do this. Can you restore me and bring back everything that I had? He doesn't say any of that stuff, right? What he's really concerned with, really is puzzling about, is why is this happening? And he's saying that, basically, that I haven't done anything wrong that should be punished like this. And he says, do not condemn me. Let me know why you contend against me. So he's just basically asking God, like, why are you doing that? Which is much more, I think it's a deeper question than please stop, right? When we go through tough things in life, we obviously want it to stop, right? We want to say, stop this, but I think the why hits a little harder. And that's just the human desire for understanding, right? It's almost easier to bear something if you know why it's happening to you. But here, he doesn't know why. He can't figure it out. He's going through all these things and saying, like, you made me and you're doing this to me. I don't think I'm guilty, but this is what's going on. Please let me die. I wish I hadn't been born. Now that I am, and this is awful. Let me die. But what he's not saying is, like, stop it. He's basically asking for a reason. And it's interesting. Like, his life is in this chaos, right? So you think of his life before he had these kids. He had all this stuff, all these animals, and he was wealthy, right? And his life was order. It was a good life, and then now it's thrown into disorder. And so he's basically just saying, release me to this chaos, right? My life is full of chaos now. Just let me go fully into that. He's kind of in both worlds. He has a foot in both worlds now. So let's read on. Job 11, his friend Zophar speaks to him. Let's see what Zophar has to say. Zophar the Naamathite answered and said, should a multitude of words go unanswered, and a man full of talk be judged right? Should your babble silence men, and when you mock shall no one shame you? For you say, my doctrine is pure, and I am clean in God's eyes. But oh, that God would speak and open his lips to you, and that he would tell you the secrets of wisdom. For he is manifold in understanding. Know then that God exacts of you less than your guilt deserves. So he's saying, you claim to be innocent. However, clearly you're not. And if God could speak to you right now, he would tell you that. At least that's what Zophar is saying. Can you find out the deep things of God? Can you find out the limit of the Almighty? It is higher than heaven. What can you do? Deeper than Sheol. What can you know? Its measure is longer than the earth and broader than the sea. If he passes through and imprisons and summons the court, who can turn him back? For he knows worthless men. When he sees iniquity, will he not consider it? But a stupid man will get understanding when a wild donkey's colt is born a man. If you prepare your heart, you will stretch out your hands toward him. If iniquity is in your hand, put it far away. Let not injustice dwell in your tents. Surely then you will lift up your face without blemish. You will be secure and will not fear. You will forget your misery, and you will remember it as waters that have passed away. And your life will be brighter than the noonday. Its darkness will be like the morning. And you will feel secure because there is hope. You will look around and take your rest in security. You will lie down, and none will make you afraid. Many will court your favor. But the eyes of the wicked will fail. All way of escape will be lost to them, and their hope is to breathe their last. Right? So Zophar is saying, Job, we get it. We're getting a little frustrated with you here because you keep saying you're innocent, but obviously, if you were truly innocent, this wouldn't be happening to you. So Job answered and said, no doubt you are the people, and wisdom will die with you. But I have understanding as well as you. I am not inferior to you. Who does not know such things as these? I am a laughing stock to my friends. I who called to God and he answered me, a just and blameless man, am a laughing stock. In the thought of one who is at ease, there is contempt for misfortune. It is ready for those whose feet slip. The tents of robbers are at peace, and those who provoke God are secure, who bring their God in their hand. But ask the beasts, and they will teach you. The birds of the heavens, and they will tell you. Or the bushes of the earth, and they will teach you. And the fish of the sea will declare to you. Who among all these does not know that the hand of the Lord has done this? In his hand is the life of every living thing, and the breath of all mankind. Does not the ear test words as the palate tastes food? Wisdom is with the aged, and understanding in length of days. With God are wisdom and might. He has counsel and understanding. If he tears down, none can rebuild. If he shuts a man in, none can open. If he withholds the waters, they dry up. If he sends them out, they overwhelm the land. With him are strength and sound wisdom. The deceived and the deceiver are his. He leads counselors away stripped, and judges he makes fools. He looses the bonds of kings and binds a waistcloth on their hips. He leads priests away stripped and overthrows the mighty. He deprives of speech those who are trusted and takes away the discernment of the elders. He pours contempt on princes and loosens the belt of the strong. He uncovers the deeps out of darkness and brings deep darkness to light. He makes nations great. He destroys them. He enlarges nations and leads them away. He takes away understanding from the chiefs of the people of the earth and makes them wander in a trackless waste. They grope in the dark without light, and he makes them stagger like a drunken man. So Job continues, Behold, my eye has seen all this. My ear has heard and understood it. What you know, I also know. I am not inferior to you. But I would speak to the Almighty, and I desire to argue my case with God. As for you, you whitewash with lies. Worthless physicians are you all. It's no way to speak to your friends, right? Oh, that you would keep silent. It would be your wisdom. Hear now my argument and listen to the pleadings of my lips. Will you speak falsely for God and speak deceitfully for him? Will you show partiality toward him? Will you plead the case for God? Will it be well with you when he searches you out? Or can you deceive him as one deceives a man? He will surely rebuke you if in secret you show partiality. Will not his majesty terrify you and the dread of him fall upon you? Your maxims are proverbs of ashes. Your defenses are defenses of clay. Let me have silence and I will speak, and let come on me what may. Why should I take my flesh in my teeth and put my life in my hand? Though he slay me, I will hope in him. Yet I will argue my ways to his face. This will be my salvation, that the godless shall not come before him. Keep listening to my words, and let my declaration be in your ears. Behold, I have prepared my case. I know that I shall be in the right. Who is there who will contend with me? For then I would be silent and die. Only grant me two things, then I will not hide myself from your face. Withdraw your hand far from me, and let not the dread of you terrify me. Then call, and I will answer, or let me speak, and you reply to me. How many are my iniquities and my sins? Make me know my transgression and my sin. Why do you hide your face and count me as your enemy? Will you frighten a driven leaf and pursue dry chaff? For you write bitter things against me and make me inherit the iniquities of my youth. You put my feet in the stocks and watch all my paths. You set a limit for the soles of my feet. Man wastes away like a rotten thing, like a garment that is moth-eaten. So this is our last chapter for tonight, and in it, Job responds to his friend and says, basically, I agree with what you're saying to a point, right? He says, I agree that, yes, God judges evildoers, and he is well within his rights to do what he likes. However, you are mistaken, my friend, in that there's no iniquity here. I'm not guilty of any sin that would cause God to treat me this way. So one thing that stands out to me, two things real quick. One is just how convinced, not only Job, but all of his friends as well. They're just convinced of this truth that that God punishes evil, right, or wickedness, or sin, or however they put it. Right, so they're just absolutely convinced that that's how God treats evildoers. And if something is wrong in your life, it's obviously because you've sinned, which is interesting to me, because coming at that concept from maybe a more New Testament type lens, we don't think of it quite that way. And even in other wisdom literature books, like Ecclesiastes, for instance, it says, and even in Psalms a little bit, it talks about how the rain falls on the righteous and wicked, right? Whether someone's good or bad, they still receive blessings in their life and grace from God. So it's not always you do one bad thing and you receive one measure of punishment from God, right? But it seems very much like that in Job, and I think that's another kind of literary device that Job employs. And we talked a couple times ago about Job may be a parable, right? Job might not be like an actual person, but a story, and these characters are foils in the story to illustrate man's relationship with God, and God, how he interacts with humanity. So that's kind of interesting to consider, I think. The other thing is talking some of this language here. Let me flip back one chapter, and some of this language here about what God does. Right? It's just placing everything in the hand of God. Every single thing that they see. Right? Shutting a man in, withholding waters, sending waters out, and causing floods. Like um, overthrows the mighty. It talks about nations and building nations and then destroying nations. All of that, it puts squarely in God's jurisdiction, in God's hand. And I don't think we really talk like that today. Even among like evangelical Christians, we sometimes shy from that. It's more of like, hey, you have natural consequences for things, just the way the world is ordered and structured and things like that. But Job, it's very much that God is active and that he causes nations to be great and he destroys them again, which is interesting to kind of think about as well. So there you go. Left you with a couple thoughts. I hope this has been profitable to you, and we will go into Job a little more next time. So